We all have this relationship with food. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be whatever it is. But we strip all of that away and we look at food for what it is. Food is a language. Food tells our body what to do, it tells our cells and tells our DNA what to do. And if we take it back and we look at that and we understand what it is, we're eating good, healthy, clean food. The body's like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. If we eat food that is full of toxins and chemicals, and maybe body doesn't even recognize it as food, the body then over time will become confused.
Hi, and welcome to the Awakening series. My name is Kimberly. Today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Nikki Burnett. Nikki is a functional nutritionist and founder of Taste Life Nutrition Health Detective Practice. Nikki and I met at a networking event, and I was so enamored by what she does. I had to bring this brilliant mind onto the show, and I'm so thankful for your time, Nikki, and very honored to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I love chatting with you and all of the things, getting goodness out into the world, right?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Yeah. So if you can give us a little insight about your journey, and then we'll get into the meat of things.
Yeah. So I did not know that I was going to go the nutrition route. Had no idea through, grad school, the whole thing. And then one day started studying it, and just like the world opened up for me. I just never stopped studying it. So what happened though was there was a point in my life where I ended up with this massive chronic pain that didn't go away for 2 years. And so as hard and as difficult and as terrible as it was, I don't have anxiety. I don't freak out about things. But when you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's going on, you see doctor after doctor after procedure after procedure after test, and you go, it can be just really daunting to not have any idea what's going on. But in looking back, what I realize is all of that brought me to the place to where, when you said health detective, that's kind of how it all started, was me learning how to dig for my own benefit, to have accountability for myself, to learn what it is. And it brought me through all of these different modalities of health, conventional, non-conventional, you name it, I've been through it. And it was, and I relate to people who come to see me because they're like, it's so expensive, and it is. And so I have that always in my head when I'm working with people. Let's do the best we can, get as much information as we can, and let's try to keep the cost down as much as we can, because it's not an easy thing. But then I decided, after working in the medical world for a while, doing, I sold surgical devices and, you name it, it was time to go to nutrition. And so as much as I'd studied it for 20 plus years, it was time to really dig in and learn and understand, how do you find the real information? How do you dig for the data? How do you learn what's best for each person? And that's where I found functional nutrition, and here I am.
I love that. Can you define for us functional nutrition?
Yes. Functional nutrition it's based in the science of functional medicine, right? So I'm not a doctor, so I can't say that I practice functional medicine, but the goal is always to dig for the root cause, which is that health detective piece of it. It's not, taking a drug or taking a supplement to cover up. Now, supplements are very important, don't get me wrong, and very therapeutic, but they also can cover up what we're trying to find. So we want to run functional labs. Some of them, I say functional labs, they can also be conventional labs, but we're looking at all different areas of the body to understand how it's functioning, why it's functioning, or why it's dysfunctioning. We're taking all of these little red flags and putting them all together, and then also looking at lifestyle, right? Stress, sleep, food, movement, trauma, toxicants in the air, toxicants all around us, all of these things, putting it together and allowing the body to repair and balance from the bottom up. So up here, it can do everything that it's supposed to do on its own.
I don't know the history of functional medicine, but it seems like I'm part Native American, and I believe we've been doing that for some time and looking at the root cause. But then when it comes to your normal general practitioner, they weren't taught that in school possibly. And it makes me so sad to see even like my parents as they get older, just in and out, and they have these ailments. And like you said, it covers the whatever they're taking, the pills and this and that are covering it up. And sometimes the pills actually make them worse. Like my mom actually had to go to the hospital because like for 7 days, because the pills depleted her of sodium and she didn't know where she was and she fell, and it was just so scary. And that again, right there is a Band-Aid, and it didn't help her in the end. It could have killed her. She was in ICU. So thankfully she's still with us. But what you're doing is amazing. It to me, it just speaks to how we should be approaching anything and everything in medical in regards to, ailments and things like that. Oh my gosh, you're brilliant. I'm so thankful for you. And I'm just so thankful for what you're doing, because it truly changes the game on how we go about, or how we even think about nutrition, health, and so on. The root cause, like if doctors were able to do this and go into people's home and say, wait, you're eating this and this and this and this, and then this system and this and the water, that's what's causing the inflammation or whatever it may be. But yes, thank you. Just what you're doing is phenomenal. And so if you can give me an idea of like some of your patients and what type of ailments they have that you've been able to help them with.
Oh, goodness. I'll say it's really all over the board, but I'll tell you the bulk of people who I see, because it's so rampant, GI dysfunction. And so when I say that, it's pain, it's bloating, it's the heartburn, it's maybe the back and forth constipation, diarrhea, or one or the other. It's it can be debilitating. It can be, and it's so hard. It's not funny, but so many people these days find themselves dictating their life and where they go and what they do based around where the bathroom is. And it's really difficult. And it's, these are things that conventional medicine is not taught to look for. I find infection in people all the time. And maybe it's just your normal bugs that are out of balance, or maybe it's worse than that. But it is that underlying, process or issue that can be missed by doing some of these sort of everyday, general labs that we tend to run in conventional medicine. Not that that's a bad thing. We want to get as much information as we possibly can, right? But, going back to, differentiating between some of the functional labs versus conventional labs, we have the ability in some ways to dig a little bit deeper and look a little bit deeper. Then, they have the ability to do it. It's not what they're taught. And then there is autoimmune dysfunction or autoimmune conditions, lots and lots and lots of autoimmune diseases, especially in women. But the thing that's interesting is they're both related. They can be related. GI dysfunction very often leads to autoimmune conditions because it's an immune response. The immune system is not happy, it's upregulated, it's angry, and so it begins to potentially attack its own tissue. And then you kind of put those together, and what I am really loving, because I've worked with a lot of fertility clients, but has moved me into more of the preconception care and planning, which is sort of my aha moment in all that it is that I do, and putting all of this together. Because the things that I learned, the two big things that have hit me as I've learned my craft and what this is all about. One thing is food. And food, we all have this relationship with food. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be whatever it is. But we strip all of that away and we look at food for what it is. Food is a language. Food tells our body what to do, tells our cells and tells our DNA what to do. And if we take it back and we look at that and we understand what it is, we're eating good, healthy, clean food. The body's like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. If we eat food that is full of toxins and chemicals, and maybe body doesn't even recognize it as food, the body then over time will become confused. And so that was the first thing. So it'll become confused. And of course, red flags and immune dysfunction and inflammation, all these things tend to arise. And the second thing is epigenetics. And I'll be really quick because this is so much fun. But the epigenome are locations on top of genes that turn on and off due to lifestyle. So it's essentially it's how genes express. And so going back to food as a language, it's foods, the nutrients within our food that tells our genes how to express. It's the sleep that we get. It's the toxins in our environment that we're inundated with. It's all of these things in our lifestyle that turn our genes on and off that, it gives us an amazing amount of control over our health, over our future. And then when we talk about generations, it's truly generational. We can turn genes on and off that will affect 7 generations ahead. So taking it all back to the preconception care and planning and making sure that the body is as healthy as possible, making sure that any autoimmune conditions are hopefully, at bay, any symptoms that are going on, let's get as healthy as possible because it will impact pregnancy, it will impact delivery, it will impact that baby, and great, however many great grandchildren ahead. We literally can change the future and create a healthy future, one person at a time. It's amazing.
So with that said, which is something I've really never heard before. And when you mentioned that to me when we first met, I was like, tell me more, what? We can affect, the generations to come, not just 1, 2, but up to 7+.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't mind going a little deeper for me, it's just because, I'm a novice when it comes to medical, but that would be just a little bit deeper. I would love to hear more.
Let's see. Toxicants, say we're looking at toxicants in the air. One of the things that we learn in functional medicine, functional nutrition is toxicity leads to deficiency. And so if you have if your body is burdened by whether it's chemicals, if it's glyphosate, we've heard of glyphosate these days, Roundup, the pesticide that's in our food, it's in our environment, it's carcinogenic, you name it. It can be heavy metal exposure, it can be mycotoxin exposure, it can be any number of things that create a burden on the body that then uses up the nutrients. And so we're unable to keep up with the need to detoxify, or it's sitting in the tissues and the body's just continuously trying to fight, and it uses nutrients to try to fight. And so then we become depleted. And so when we then become depleted, it doesn't allow for the proper expression of the epigenome or your genome, right? Your DNA. So we also can have certain genetics, just kind of how we're made. So our epigenome is our potential. It's not who we are. It's not everything about us. It's our potential. We can have the potential for cardiovascular disease. Just because it runs in the family doesn't mean I have to have a cardiovascular issue, right? It can be potential for diabetes. It can be potential for autoimmune conditions. It can be potential for all of these things. And when we have the knowledge and the information, then we have the ability, hopefully, to mitigate. But we can also have these specific, they're called SNPs. It's single nucleotide polymorphism, but SNP for short, right? Or variant, you can call it a variant, that maybe just doesn't allow for proper detoxification. So we can have, each person, we can look at this and we can see that one person may not have the ability to properly detoxify things like glyphosate or Roundup, the pesticides and the herbicides. And so when we see that, we know that the likelihood that they need more support is pretty high. Doesn't mean that it's expressed yet, but maybe it has. And those are the things that we always want to look at when we're talking about the epigenome is, do symptoms correlate with the epigenetic potential? And so we don't look at the epigenetic potential and say, whoa, you need all of these things. It's, what are your symptoms? What's the epigenetic potential? What are all of the labs saying? What's your lifestyle look like? Look at all of these things all together, and then we can determine what it is that we need to do in order to bring balance to the body that will then create a healthy expression of your genes and express for generations, hopefully properly express for the generations to come. Does that help? Does that
Oh,
make
that's
sense?
powerful. Yes, that really, really helps. Thank you
Okay.
so much. My gosh, that was deep, and I was able to get it. So thank you, Nikki. Since, I was born in the 80s, I didn't eat very well. Like, I ate mac and cheese, I ate bologna and
Me
white
too.
bread, I ate,
Mhm.
all this junk that we didn't truly know better. I mean, I had an apple here, maybe a banana there, but I didn't eat what I probably should have. What are your, I mean, I think I'm a pretty healthy person now that I'm eating better, but what are your thoughts on just, us, like our generation of eating, our eating habits, and like, is this how it's turned into something that's gotten a little out of hand with, like you said, the issues with the GI and so on? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that since the Industrial Revolution, where we have all of these fake foods and, trans fats and, man-made foods and the demonization of fat in particular, right? I mean, there's good fat and bad fat, but the demonization of fat altogether. And so, these high carb lifestyles and not enough fat, so all of these things, food is political, which is really sad. And, somewhere in somebody's mind, there's the thought that I can do this better than God can. I don't really know where that comes from, but there are those who believe that to be the case. And so we have all of this fake food. So yeah, we have, I mean, I grew up with the sausages and the mac and cheese. And I tell people, we didn't only have the half-gallon buckets of ice cream. We had the big plastic gallon buckets of ice cream in our freezer. It's amazing. And you just nosh on it regularly, and it was horrible. But so yeah, we have, as food was becoming political and people were getting sick, or sicker, and cardiovascular diseases rising, well, then, okay, well, fat's bad, let's demonize fat. But cardiovascular disease didn't go down, it just continues to go up and up and up and up. And so we're missing the root cause. We're missing what actually is happening. We're missing the fact that it's not fat that creates cholesterol issues. And I'm probably going off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's sugar, it's unhealthy food, it's unhealthy processed fats and foods. These are the things that are going to be toxic on the liver and create that unhealthy cholesterol, creating the inflammatory response, which then is going to create cardiovascular disease, right? And so all of that to say, we are still learning. Thankfully, we're still learning, which is how the rise to holistic / functional medicine nutrition has come into play, where it's kind of that, let's take it back to basics. Food is food, good healthy food, and I think remember who it was. I'm not going to say this right. Maybe it was Mark Hyman, but I'm not sure. Said, maybe it was Perlmutter. I don't remember. Either way, point is, eat healthy food, mostly plants, and that's really what we're looking for. It's plant-based. It's not that we need to be vegetarian and vegan. I don't believe that to be the case at all, period. I think that has a place in therapeutic diets, but we're not getting enough plants. We're not getting enough greens. We're not eating enough vegetables, especially, and fruit, and then healthy food. So, sorry, coming back to it, we are now taking that look back. And so functional medicine, nutrition sort of started, I believe it was the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm pretty sure, but that's when okay, we need to do something about this. Let's take it back to basics. Let's understand the body, how the body functions, again, why it's functioning as it is, and start to address it from that point. Start looking at lifestyle and all of those factors, because going back to what you said about conventional medicine, it is amazing at what it does, which is acute care. when we break a bone, when we have to have a surgery, all of these things, even drugs, these things have their place and they're absolutely necessary. And I'm glad that we have them. But we, in the functional world, we are, I believe, better at the chronic care, understanding the why behind it and allowing the body to balance so it can do its job. We want it to do its job on its own. And we don't want to squash the immune system and the immune function. We don't want to just squash inflammation. We want to understand why the inflammation is there in the first place. So the biggest thing that I will tell people is always ask why and never stop asking why. It's accountability, which is awesome, but it's also super scary, right? It can be really, really hard to know that I have not ultimate, but mostly ultimate control, right? I have control of what I put on my skin and in my body and in my washing machine and in my, water and in my garden. I mean, there's so much that we have control over. It's amazing. It truly is.
Say, for example, somebody does come to you and you go through to the root cause. You said a lot of times it's the GI situation. How do you get them back on track? If you could give us some insight on that.
So everybody is individual. I can give you sort of an overview of how I would address something like that. First things first is I always send them some software that I use called the Living Matrix, and it was developed through the Institute, in part anyway, by the Institute for Functional Medicine. And it is, you can consider it their forms or their intake, whatever you want to call it, but it's really comprehensive. It prints out a timeline from prior to birth until today. And it's symptoms, needs, goals, it's a food journal, it's how you're feeling, it's medical history, it's family history, it's mental and emotional history, it's where you live, you name it. It's really, really expansive. It takes some time. And so we start there. So I look at that's everything that they are in their history, right? And then we're looking at what labs we want to run. So I'll pull in any labs that they've already had. We'll look at other labs that we want to run. We have if it were up to me, I would run just as many labs as I possibly could because it's so fun. It gives us so much information and it's such amazing guidance. But we also have to be aware of people's budgets. Now, I never upcharge for labs, but there's still, I want people to be able to spend their money on getting better. So we're careful about the labs we run, but we want to get as much information as we possibly can. Because GI dysfunction, going back to it, GI dysfunction can come from mycotoxin exposure. It can come from the pesticides and the herbicides. It can come from the environment and stuff in our homes. So many of these things, it's not just an infection. It's not just the GI. I mean, it's really, we got to really dig in. So point to all of that is, we'll put together programs and it's supplements, it's food, it's lifestyle modification, it's prayer and meditation. Not everybody prays, but I talk to them like, I need you to pray, and be still and bring your stress levels down. And, all of these things that we can do. Stress is the worst. Stress is the worst thing that we can put our body through. And everything that we do that creates inflammation is putting stress on the body. And then relationships can put stress on the body. I mean, you name it. So does that help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes sense about stress too. And thank you for walking us through that. Now, as a possible patient that you may have from the show, they'll have a good understanding of what role they play in helping themselves in addition to you finding that root cause with them. So as far as being a functional nutritionist now and all the issues you had prior to, what type of advice would you give your younger self before you even had those issues, now that you know what you know?
So first off, I want to say this because I feel like I need to clarify that I don't have patients, I have clients, just because I'm not, in medicine, but I just want to put that out there. What would I give my younger self? I think it would be to listen more to my body. And it's not easy to do. What I know is we have lost in so many ways how to listen to our bodies. Our bodies are always talking to us. always talking to us. We don't pay attention, or we want to squash it, right? Give me an Advil, or whatever the case may be. Or we're having a hard time listening because our hormones are out of whack. Our hunger hormones may be out of whack, and we don't know that. So we want to eat all the time, or maybe we're never hungry. There's so many things that it is the body trying to tell us something, but we got to know how to listen to it. So I would say learn to listen, because I'm still learning to listen.
Yeah, again, things we don't really aren't taught and we don't really think
Mhm.
about. So this is a very good reminder. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Nikki, what type of books would you offer to your clients who are interested in possibly working with you? And also, say, for example, you're fully booked, and in the interim, what can they do to kind of get ready for somebody like yourself to come in and help them?
So I have three here. I'll tell you that over here I have my library. It can be a really hard one to determine, because there's so many good ones, and I go back to them all the time. But my first one is Deep Nutrition by Catherine Shanahan, and this is the sort of my introduction to epigenetics and food as a language. And that's why I love it so much, because my whole world opened up when I read this book. And it's a little bit heady, and it's historical, when it comes to the history of people, and it's just a really great book. So and you can see I always have my little notes in there. That's one of my favorites. The other one would be The Great Cholesterol Myth. This
Ooh.
this is this is a good one. It is a bit heady also, but it's easy for the layperson to understand and get so much knowledge out of it, and which is in a lot of ways contradictory to what we learn in conventional medicine. This would be a whole other podcast, but it's a great book. I recommend it to any of my clients who are dealing with any kind of cardiovascular issues, if they're afraid of their cholesterol, which I'm rarely afraid of cholesterol. And then I have one more. Is that okay? Do I have time?
Yes, absolutely. Bring it on.
This one is fairly new, and this is called The Forever Dog.
Oh.
And this is it's Rodney Habib and Karen Becker. I want to make sure that you see that. It's a fairly new book. I also work with teaching people how to feed their dogs raw food, real raw food. And this book is so much about the dog epigenome and how we have, you talk about the generations, their lifespan, unfortunately, is so much shorter, and how we've impacted them generationally so terribly by the food that we feed them, and the toxicants that we put, the constant heartworm meds and the flea medications and the vaccines and all of these things that we have done that has shortened their life. People come to me and say, my dog's 7 and he's a senior. Like, your dog should be 17 and a senior, or maybe 27 and a senior. And we're losing them so early. But it's like that's what we think now. That's what we think is normal, and it's not. They should be 20, 25 plus normally and naturally, and they're not. So this is a
That is
great
so
book.
good. Yeah, Nikki, that right there. I mean, I've had a few pups in my day, and you're right. They've definitely deteriorated very young. And not knowing that I didn't need to add, the heartworm and the this and the that, because I don't know what I don't know. So,
I know.
it's heartbreaking. And it's so great to hear that you've kind of stumbled upon this book, or you've heard about this book and you've actually read it, and now giving the insight to, I mean, we're dog people. Everybody's like a dog person almost. Almost every person I know is a dog person. And so to not, have your dog for as long as you can is just, again, heartbreaking. So this information you're giving and that book, I cannot wait to recommend it. So thank you for that insight. I love it.
Well, follow Rodney and Dr. Karen. I've known them and followed them for quite some time now, many years. And when the book came out, I pre-ordered it. I was like, I need this book. I want this book. And it is really good and really informative, gives so much information. It's really good. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, I guess one more question here. Where can we find you? You're in Denver, right? Denver, Colorado?
Yep, I am. Actually, I'm in Wheat Ridge, but I see all of my clients at this point, everybody's virtual. Even before, COVID, I had, virtual clients because I have clients, in Mexico and the UK and sort of all over the place. But now it really is true all virtual, which is, it's great and it's fun. And so Taste Life Nutrition, I'm Taste Life Nutrition everywhere, or Nikki Burnett. You can find me. The website is tastelifenutrition.com. All Facebook, the social media, everything is Taste Life Nutrition. So I will say that I have on my website an assessment that is part of the living matrix analysis that I referred to a little while ago. It's just a small part of it. And on that, through that assessment, we can then sort of, have a little bit of a clearer understanding. It goes through kind of the organ systems and symptoms and things that are going on, and helps us to determine, what might be going on, and gives a little guidance. And so when people fill that out, I reach out to them and we chat about it, and we see if there are things that we can do to help them through whatever it is that they're struggling with.
I love that you have that form on there, that information. So you have the information and they're now aware of what they're doing, right? And what they've been doing
Mm-hmm.
and how their lifestyle is affecting, their health, with their eating style and so on. But wow, this is so powerful. I'm so thankful, Nikki. I'm truly blown away. I know we talked before, but I've learned so much more. I'm sure I could learn a ton. I mean, even more as time goes on. And I'm just so thankful to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was so fun. I love doing this. It's really good fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.